In the United States, the word O'Reilly means auto parts. In Springfield, it means that and much more. The company and the family also have a well-deserved reputation for charitable giving. My guest today is David O'Reilly. He's Executive Vice Chairman of O'Reilly Automotive. We're going to talk about the company's charitable impact here in Springfield and the reasons behind its extensive program of corporate giving. David, welcome to In Our Town.
Thanks, Tom. Good to be here.
Well, I know a lot about O'Reilly. It's always been a kind of a part of the Springfield landscape for me, but maybe all our guests don't. Give us a little history about the company.
Well, started back in 1957 when my dad and granddad, while they were working for another parts company called Link Motor Supply downtown, decided, my granddad was 71, 72 at the time, but decided they wanted to branch out and start their own business, mainly precipitated by the fact that the company was owned out of Kansas City that they were working for, and they had some consultant out of New York come down and review their operations, and they said my granddad needed to retire, and they wanted to move my dad to Kansas City to run a store up there. And so they said they didn't want any of that. So the two of them plus 11 others that worked there at Link with them branched out and went 403 Sherman downtown, right across from the Hammond
Where
Field.
Jordan Valley Park is.
Absolutely. The Creamery building.
That's right, yeah.
That was the first store, opened in November of 1957. And from there, the rest, as I say,
Isn't it funny? It's sort of like, sometimes like, hey, you're getting fired or something, but it's the best thing that could ever happen to you.
Exactly, exactly. And my granddad at 72, my dad was quick to say there's no question about who was in charge and who initiated most of what was going on back then, although my dad shortly thereafter really took over the operations. But anyway, it's been an amazing story
and help me. But didn't you all have a rule initially? I think it was from the Potter familias, you might say, that you weren't going to have more stores than you could put an O'Reilly in it. So it's like Charlie and
initially we grew very slowly, very deliberately, and under pretty tight control.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting
Charlie
at.
was my brother Charlie opened the store over in Joplin, for example, and we had my brother Larry and then eventually myself got involved in the business. When I got involved in the business, so from 1957, I started full time in 1972. We had 6 stores. So it's a long time there in today's numbers.
Yes, absolutely.
For slow growth, but good growth, profitable growth. Kind of grew, like they say, within ourselves and within our ability. So yeah, then after that, after my 2 brothers and I got involved, we decided we could make this work maybe a little more aggressively, a little more rapidly, and started opening more stores.
And in those days, if your greatest wishes could have been realized, how big could you have foreseen the company getting?
We all joke about that because in the early days when we had maybe, I don't know what we had at the time, 10 or 12 stores, we had a meeting, kind of a store manager's meeting or a management meeting. And my brother Larry, who I guess has always been tagged a little bit with the creative thinker or the more aggressive marketing type thinker, he said, one of these days, I'm going to tell you, one of these days we're going to have 100 stores.
Oh my gosh, wow.
And we all said, there he goes again, He's thinking that way out of the box. So, obviously.
Well, there's some creative tension there, I suppose, between somebody being aggressive on one side and somebody else being conservative, and maybe somewhere in the middle that magic happens.
We had a great checks and balance back then among ourselves, and we had a rule between Charlie and Larry and I, and eventually Rosalie when she got involved in the business years later. But we just we stay in the room until we all agreed on what we were going to do.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, why did the company go public?
In 1993, yeah, well, we were pushing up toward, I guess, 100 and, well, close to 200 stores. And we actually just over 100 stores. I'm jumping ahead. Just over 100 stores at the time. Continued to want to grow faster and expand. Capital availability was still pretty good, but we knew by going public that would open up a whole new world of capital availability. That was one reason. Probably the biggest reason, quite honestly, as we got bigger, to perpetuate that ownership feeling that you mentioned,
Yes,
as far as
right.
the family. We wanted all of our store managers, at least store managers and above, to be real owners. And by going public, we were able to actually award them stock grants and stock options. And they ran their stores as an owner because they were, in fact, owners of the company after that.
That's very interesting to me, and I'm sure there may be some exceptions, so correct me, but it seems like just about everybody that's risen to the top was a long-term employee of the company.
That's right.
Not a lot of people brought in from outside.
Our promote from within philosophy has been there since the very beginning, and certainly we have some exceptions to that for specific jobs. But for the most part, people know that our company is a company of opportunity, and you work hard and dedicate themselves to our culture values and what needs to be done, and you'll have opportunities to grow and expand. So yeah, we're proud of that.
I think it's really amazing. And I think I saw the other day, you're up to 6,200 stores now?
Yeah, close to 6,400 actually. Yeah, we just had our earnings release for 2024 yesterday, and so we can kind of speak publicly about it. Our plan this year is 205 new stores, 180 in the States, and 25 new stores in Mexico. So.
Well, it's a subject for another day, I suppose, about what our current president's doing with tariffs, and
yeah.
But I bet you guys are watching that closely.
Oh, very closely.
Yeah.
We, it's again public information. About 20% of our goods today come from China.
Oh.
About 18% come from Mexico.
Are you concerned about this tariff issue?
Well, not from a business standpoint.
Okay.
We fortunately are in a business where those kinds of costs hit everybody in our industry about the same, and contrary to our current president's comments, obviously costs of goods have to be passed along for
Right.
the company to stay in business, so those costs are passed along for the most part. We obviously negotiate with our suppliers and try to share the burden, but no, we've been able to, and our business is mostly a non-discretionary business. I mean, there are discretionary purchases for certain maintenance items, but
If the car needs a spark plug, it
that's
needs a
right.
spark plug.
If it's not running, you need to do something about it. So.
Okay. Well, I need just what you've done is fascinating to me, and I could talk all day, but I really want to get into this charitable aspect.
Sure.
So, what's the origin for this charitable giving, this impulse to do that?
Well, once again, it started from the very beginning. I mean, Dad and Granddad, even from the very beginning, starting a new business with really nothing. They were still, I mean, I remember way back, Granddad always had a philanthropic, charitable way about him. People that needed a helping hand or whatever, he was always there.
Okay.
And you kind of remember those things, especially when you look back. But as the culture evolved in our company, as we got larger and larger, Charlie and Larry and Rosalie and myself, we embraced that. We feel very fortunate on how the company's done, and so we feel obligated really to give back to the community and to those that can use it.
Well, it's obviously been impactful to by orders of magnitude here in Springfield, and I want to talk about that. But first, tell us about the charity golf tournament, how that started, and
Sure.
what that's all about?
Well, it's that's a golf tournament that started way back. Actually, when did that start? I think maybe in the late '90s, and it was really just a kind of a fun idea to bring together team members mainly, but also suppliers who we work closely with, and early on we asked our better suppliers if they would help sponsor it and put up some funds, and gosh, pretty quickly we realized, I think in the early years there, we would be able to net about $100,000 from the tournament, and
that's not chump change.
no, it's not, and so
Yeah.
we were able to to commit that or donate that to some various charitable causes in the area. And it's from there, it has taken on a life of its own, kind of. I mean, we work hard at it, of course, and we have people involved that are working on it almost year round, but it's gotten to be a very significant event.
Uh-huh. And where is it held?
So it's held out at
Is it Rivercoat?
Rivercut.
Okay, and was it once or twice a year?
It's once a year.
It's once a year, okay.
But it's a tremendous event. We now, because of the fact a few years ago, I think 5-6 years ago, someone was smart enough to suggest to us that if we got Community Foundation involved, our vendors could look at it less as a sponsorship of a corporate relationship, with O'Reilly Automotive. They could actually look at it and tap funds from their respective companies that had charitable funds earmarked. Instead of it being a marketing fund and sponsoring a tournament, it was a charitable contribution. So our
So
giving
that worked for them a little better as well.
It did. So we went, for example, in 2017, we had $240,000 realized from the tournament. To this past year, we had $750,000 realized, and
then you work in collaboration with the Community Foundation of the Ozarks and
that's right.
deciding who receives the charitable gifts.
That's right. The local nonprofits and charitable organizations, of course, which we have so many that do such a tremendous job in the area. Back in 2017, as I mentioned, we had 19 local charities for that $240,000. Now at $750,000, we're donating to 37 local charities. In some, we have impact gifts, which help them with very specific, more financially necessary expenditures. So they're larger grants, in other words. But otherwise, we're able to give meaningful gifts to 37 different charities now.
There were some issues surrounding the Price Cutter tournament recently. Do you use the same business model that they do with their golf tournament?
We've gotten to the point where it's, I guess you would say it's similar, because we do ask charities that are able to provide some volunteers to help. But mostly it's been team members within the company.
So the charities are not at financial risk.
Oh no, it's a completely different model there. It's completely 100% contributions from the proceeds of the tournament to them. They have, if they can provide some volunteers to help
well,
shepherd things.
that's good for them anyway, just to make a presence, I would think.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what determines how much you end up being able to give to a charities? Is it due to attendance or what the various co-sponsors put in on the front end? How does that work?
In terms of how much we give to each charity?
No, just in total, how much you make.
Oh, okay. Well, we put our negotiating hat on pretty early with our vendors. We get as much as we can. We don't want it to impact our relationship with them as a as a purchaser. But
I'm the Daily Citizen. A lot of my friends see me coming anymore. I'm asking them for a contribution for it. So I can appreciate what you're talking about.
But that's why it was so critical when we got Community Foundation involved. They were able to donate out of out of charitable funds.
Because
for the most
they've
part.
already earmarked that money.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so, and now it's, all of our good supporters, it's kind of in their budget, if you will, on an annual basis. Because we've done, last year was 650,000, and the year before 550. But we're getting up to where we have vendors, like I say, who are committed each year. And, we just determine based on their capability.
Right.
We kind of feel out what the possibilities are and try to ask them to give as much as they can.
So I saw a news release that O'Reilly put out on November 21, and it said that there were over 30 Springfield area nonprofits that were recipients of this, and it was a total of 750.
Right.
And my impression is that from looking at this, you drew upon the expertise of the Community Foundation in figuring out who you wanted to make recipients and to what extent, because, that's what they do over there.
Sure. And they've been a great partner in that respect. We all kind of have a little input on that. We have a committee that we, of our management folks and team members, and we all kind of give input as to who we feel. It changes a little bit from year to year as things evolve. But for the most part, the good nonprofits in the area that are doing such good work all around in many respects, from food pantries to, the victim center to, hate to start naming names,
Right.
but there's so many. So we just determine kind of what the needs are. The Community Foundation is great at vetting specific needs from year to year and kind of give us their input. And so we've been able to kind of distill that along with our own thoughts and come up with the grant.
Is there an overriding, or maybe a better way to say it, is there a common thread running through all that in figuring out whom you want to make a recipient?
It's pretty broad common thread, but yes, because it does range, as I mentioned, everything from food pantries to, the homeless situation to child advocacy and from CASA to Big Brothers Big Sisters to the Boys and Girls Club to.
So it seems to me it's more people that are just having a rough go as opposed to maybe scholarships, for example, that kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a handout or a hand up
Right.
to those in need and those organizations that provide those services. So yeah, it's definitely very gratifying for the company to be involved in doing that.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi, I'm Z Herzog. I'm the subscription sales manager for the Springfield Daily Citizen. My typical day is really audience development. Sometimes that looks like direct customer service, where I help customers troubleshoot issues with their tech and send out emails that help them understand what our product is and why they should subscribe. We get a lot of data coming in. We can see a lot of things related to our subscribers and audiences and what they like and how they view our product. So putting all of those numbers to actual actions to improve the user experience and what they want to see from us. I think it's really important for people to understand we are taking such good care to understand the needs of our community and provide a perspective that comes from within the community and not from more corporate perspectives. Really that grassroots understanding of what our needs are.
What are your are you willing to make you do this all the time, David, in your business. You got to make projections about what the company's going to look like and whether we ought to be buying some more stock. What about this? Are you making any projections what this might look like in 5 or 10 years?
Well, actually, I'm not very good at projections. I usually go a day at a time, let alone maybe a year is a long time out. No, it's something we hope to continue to grow. As I mentioned a while ago, it's for the last 3-4 years, it's grown about 100,000 a year. So we're at 750. I'd certainly like to see it hit 1 million in a couple, 3 years or so. But so we'll continue to do it the best we can. There's kind of limitations on logistics.
I was wondering about that. Physically, will River Cup be able to handle the thing?
I think we're doing, I've kind of lost track a little bit, but I think we're doing 2 different waves or 2 different,
Okay,
like a
that's where I got
morning and
the
an
idea,
afternoon.
yeah.
I think so. But anyway, hopefully we can just keep up at least with inflation and
Right.
and increase it that way, but also expand on maybe what our vendors are able to do.
What are there any particular emerging challenges in our community that got your attention?
Well, I think you have to pretty quickly say that the homeless situation is the root of a number of different of our charities and need in the community. But early childhood education, in my mind, is a very critical one.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, again, once you start naming things, I mean, the food pantries, people that don't know where the next meal's coming from.
Right.
It's kind of hard to get past somebody in that situation.
It's hard for a kid that goes to school hungry to study.
Yeah. And, my office is about a block away from Harmony House, which, the family violence or women's shelter, basically, and family shelter. They do wonderful work. That kind of need is incredible. So I don't think there's anything that stands out too much other than, like I said, homeless. That's
Right.
certainly a root of a lot of problems.
What about you personally? We've been talking pretty much about the foundation at this point. Are there special charities or efforts that attract your own attention?
Well, there are, and mentioning what the company's doing through the Golf Classic is important. But we also have a company foundation that is doing great things, and it's fairly new. We just started it a few years ago, and so they are making meaningful gifts. This past year, we had $1 million worth of grants out of the foundation. I think we're up to about a $12 million corpus there. So that's meaningful for the company. Personally, each of us, Charlie, Larry, Rosalie, and myself, come together and make gifts from time to time. Like, for example, the Drury, the O'Reilly Family Event Center, for
Right.
example, or the Chubb O'Reilly Cancer Center at Mercy. Those kind of gifts, we usually collaborate and make a joint gift. Then we each individually have our own, kind of favorite gifting that comes around. But a lot of times we do it together, or at least we kind of collaborate on what we're doing. But for me, Springfield Catholic Schools has been a big one for me. I think they provide a great, alternative to public education. We have a great public education system in Springfield. Springfield Catholic fulfills a tremendous role, and it's where I went to school. I grew up. I went K through 8 at St. Agnes downtown.
Right, sure.
Yeah, and so it's close to my heart there. So that's a personal one for me that I've continued to support. One of the things that just currently I'm making a significant contribution is to the Ozark Technical College, OTC, or Ozark
What's
Techs, I
that
think
going to
they're
be
calling it.
for?
That's for the new student center.
Oh, I see.
It's going to be on Chestnut and Sherman. Beautiful, big new facility. I think 3 stories or whatever. So I've
OTC, oh my gosh, what do they have, like 14,000 students or
yeah,
something like
it's
that?
done. Hal Higdon and his team have done an amazing job, and they just continue to grow and provide such a meaningful service for the technical aspects of many jobs. And
Let me digress with you just for a second.
Sure.
With your company, can you talk a little bit about the kind of students that would be going, the training they would get at an OTC, and how
Sure.
that might interface with your
Sure.
company?
Yeah, you bet. In fact, we do an annual scholarship, have for many years. My dad initiated that at OTC, because they do have an automotive mechanics
Uh-huh.
division, whatever you want to call it. And of course, now with the new manufacturing facility, that's not directly automotive, but it's definitely industrial and mechanical. So that's a tremendous service. They've got, aircraft mechanics now, I think, and a lot of different sort of related fields to the automotive industry, because we do supply a lot of things other than just auto parts when it comes to maintenance and chemicals and supplies and tools and equipment, jacks and, different things.
Yes.
So a lot of those kind of needs are of interest to us. But students out of OTC usually, especially in the automotive end, would be more apt to go into the mechanic and repair end probably. But, as far as people that come into to our store operations or our warehouse division, they usually have some inclination to auto parts or to some interest in automotive, which is always helpful.
It's always amazing to me, just as a customer, just how much knowledge they have.
Yeah, and that's what we pride ourselves on, and parts professionals, we call it. And our parts professionals are there to not just sell you something, but to help you complete the job with everything you need. And they do such a tremendous job on that. And it's great for them. Many of our people learn a lot on the job from others who've been there. But
your company is so great. My wife Chandler wants me to change the windshield wipers. So just take it down to O'Reilly and have them do it.
and they will.
They will.
They'll come out and do it for you. Absolutely.
What about? I don't want to focus on this, but my gosh, I don't get an opportunity to talk to a guy like you in your position. What's your thoughts about artificial intelligence and how that may affect?
I think it's going to be and is in the very, very early stages of revolutionizing every aspect of our lives.
Okay.
I really do. I think, I heard recently that artificial intelligence will be more meaningful than the internet when it first
Are you worried about
took
it?
hold. No, not at all. I think it's going to be a productivity aid for the most part. It's going to allow us to do our jobs better and smarter and more informed. I think there's so many.
What about the concern that it's going to put people out of work?
Yeah,
You don't buy that.
I don't buy that for a bit. I mean, just look back historically. There were many ages along the way that all this new stuff was going to put people out of work and didn't need as many people and so forth. We need different jobs, different training, more opportunities to do other things sometimes, but it really just allows you to be more productive. And of course, productivity is what drives our entire economy.
Right.
And so growth and productivity is going to allow us to all lead better lives and hopefully have less problems in our country, economically speaking. But no, AI, even in the medical world, or particularly in the medical world, apparently there's just a tremendous amount of good things on the horizon. Everything from analyzing scans and x-rays, by the machine to make sure
you haven't missed something.
Exactly.
Right.
To analyzing and diagnosing illnesses with symptoms and stuff, input into the, AI is amazing. The more I know about it, which is very, very little, quite honestly, the more excited I am about it.
I've read about people that have been really successful, and many of them believe that for some reason or another, giving back has contributed to their success. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know that I've thought about it from quite that angle as far as contributing to success, but I think it's a wonderful quality to have. I've always admired people who had a philanthropic mindset, and I guess a lot of times it corresponds to people that have been successful. I'm not sure what the causal relationship was there, but
it feels good, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It certainly does. I can't imagine not giving back if you've had some element of success. And even if you haven't, we do the United Way in our company every year. It's another aspect of charity. We're doing roughly about $750,000, somewhere around 750,000 a year through United Way, and we give everybody a chance to give. It doesn't matter, $1, per paycheck or whatever. The minimum is $1 probably, or whatever. Everybody can participate. In other words, you don't have to be wealthy to have that good feeling of contributing to those who need a little help. So we try to instill that mindset through our team members. It's the one charity that we will actually support company-wide, because we don't want to make our team members feel like they're expected to do other things, but we do give them the opportunity in United Way, because United Way supports so many other causes.
We're coming to our close, but I wanted to ask you a couple other things. Are there any particular charities or success stories that you're particularly pleased about here in Springfield?
Well, as far as what that we've been involved in?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. Well, of course, it starts back with, and they're not a charity, I suppose, but Springfield Catholic Schools, our family was very instrumental in the new high school being built on 65, and we're involved in that from the building committee to the fundraising to all of that. So we're very, I think, proud of that happening. I think our contributions along the years to the Harmony House, my sister particularly, and the rest of us have supported them in the construction of their new facility out near our offices. That's something we're proud of. I think the Chubba Riley Cancer Center is something that we're particularly proud of to have our dad's name on.
Yeah.
For Mercy.
I knew him not well, but I knew him when I first started practicing law, and he was such a gentleman.
He was great. He was loved by many, many people. He was a gentleman, and I had the opportunity to work in the office right next to him for, I don't know,
had to rub off
15 or 20 years, and I just admire how he handled himself.
Yeah.
With team members and suppliers and anyone else that he came in contact with. So, no, there's a lot of things that we're gratified that we've been able to help and support over the years.
David, about to wind up here. Is there anything else about the charitable giving program with the O'Reilly family or the company that I failed to ask you about?
I don't think so particularly. We have one other little program that we're proud of,
please.
and we give each of our stores, as I mentioned, almost 6,400 now, a little budget. It's a small budget, but so that even out in kind of the boonies where there's small towns and a smaller store operation, they have their own little budget each year so they can support the local yearbook or the local baseball team or something like that with small donations, and that's been particularly well received. So to the point where, of course, 6,400 is a big number these days, but we're doing about $2 million a year in contributions to local causes through each store. So each store manager kind of has their own little budget. Again, it's not large, but
it can be a big deal. I can remember one time I was out in the country on my motorcycle, and the darn thing wouldn't start. I needed jumper cables, and the fellow I was riding with, we went to a local O'Reilly, and they just gave them to me and said, "Bring them back when you're done." I thought, you guys aren't making me buy it or anything. I was impressed by that.
That's great.
But it's. I guess my point is that sort of corporate ethic is really getting down to the retail level.
We love hearing stories like that. It's great. No, I can't think of anything else, Tom. Really, I've enjoyed it.
Well, that's great. David, thanks for being my guest today in our town.
You bet. Thank you.
That's it for this week, and many thanks for listening. If you'd like to listen to other episodes, you can visit the Springfield Daily Citizen website at sgfcitizen.org/innertown,
or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.